You know, some of the drawings from the engineers, they didn't exactly specify where the outlets were supposed to be in the ceilings for the projectors, so they would just, you know, I think strategically put it where it went, because the projector, you know, that's too close to the board, it doesn't project, so it's a change order. You
Right.
know, there's $50 there, and,
Right, and they didn't ask the question, they just put it in.
yeah.
So
I said,
that's,
it could've
those
been-
things need to be
yeah.
addressed, that's correct, absolutely right.
That's one thing we do during the bid process, as the plans develop, we start writing our bid packages or the bid form. We break it down into different scopes of work, say your site concrete, your building concrete, masonry, steel, drywall, painting, that sort of thing. And we try to identify everything that's in their scope of work, so that each painter knows exactly what's expected of him. Is he supposed to caulk around all the doors and windows, or is the glazer gonna do it? That way, they're clear on their scope of work, and they like it because it's more fair, you know, they're bidding apples to apples to everybody else. And that allows us to alleviate any of the gray areas and some of the areas that could be missed.
Minimizes risk again, time up front.
So, questions for Doug or Matt? Anything? I mean, they've covered a lot of ground, and you can see that, you know, it isn't an easy chore to know, one, which of the delivery methods to use, and two is exactly how you would treat it. So, that's the problem, is that, you know, you get into something and you get a good firm such as Benetton, you are assured that you're gonna get a good product. The unfortunate part is you get someone in that designs a building that they're there to design the building and leave, or really don't care, or build the building, or a construction management firm that says, let's get it done and get to the next project, then that's creates problems for us. So that works in your best behalf, is you select quality people that handle the job both in architecture and construction, and you get what we got here, or getting here.
We like to say, it's the same analogy, all cognac is brandy, but not all brandy is cognac.
So, any question?
In our chapter, we talked about like the characteristics of a school site, and you mentioned did you have stakeholders go out to like Valley View, and you mentioned something about actually going out and looking at the facilities?
When they give us spots,
Okay.
Yeah.
Because part of it was the aesthetic value to your community.
yeah.
So did those people come back and say, yeah, I like the looks of this building better than this building, or?
Oh, when
How
we
did you
selected
get
the
that?
architects, yes. Let me clarify that real quickly.
Okay.
When we did the architect selection, if it works that you have the time to do it, I recommend you do that. You go look at all the buildings and find out what buildings are there, then the interviews of the architects then make sense to you, because you already know what they've designed. You can ask questions specifically. What do I like about Valley View or Caldwell that Mountain View doesn't have, or Eagle or somewhere else? So that is looked at, but the common person looking at those aesthetics is only that's the skin of the hand is all. So that works but doesn't work. So that is a consideration. Secondly, though, when I mentioned about sites, I said to one of you people, when you mentioned, I think it was you, Angie, about, you get donated sites. You can get a real liability on your hands. So, and contractors don't want to give things away for giving them away. So I had a lot of sites that were huge things that we said no on, that no access to, all rock, gas tanks underneath there. They'll give you that, and once you take it, it's your problem. So that, you have to be very, very careful when they give you something. And then I'd bring in these guys and say to Matt, does it look like something we can build on? And then the architects look at it and see, is the flow work? Are we gonna be able to get traffic in and out of that? That has to occur on free sites more than what we're buying. This site here was designed, or was giving us initial, when I took the job, I knew that a high school was coming. And so I had enough foresight, said to myself, we better be getting a site that meets our criteria. So I looked at and had people scouting out sites, because you can't let that out. If you let that out, everything will go sky high. So we had sites looking, and we found 2 sites here by 2 different owners that met our needs. 60 acres, we bought 40 and a 20 and put them together. But we did what you're talking about, Wendy, I think, is that does the site, flow together? Does it slope from north to south about, I think, 12 feet, which would have been a huge cost for us, but the landscape architects we hired said, here's something you could think through, and you'll see this with these ball fields. These ball fields are college ball fields in essence, because the baseball field, which is further over, is sunk 3.5 feet down, and drained properly, but you're looking down into it. This softball field is 3 feet. Guess what the fill was that saved us from not even hauling that in there? The fill that we would have put in there would have been huge, and then the soccer thing's bermed all the way around, allowing, you know, whatever extra you had, make a nice berm around there. So this site was ideal, and we had, you know, 6 or 8 people say, good, bad, or indifferent. And we considered 3 different sites before we bought this one. Does that answer your question? Any other questions for these two?
There's another avenue you can use. A lot of the school districts will actually set a building committee together that goes and reviews buildings, and they'll put their proposal together. And they like to sit through architectural presentations as the architects are putting the plan together too. That's another avenue to
Well,
help you.
there's a certain sense of pride the community gets after they see it, the completion. Like after Mountain View is complete, even though it might not be perfect, the community was very proud of that facility, and it does have that piece of it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, you're right, Wendy, and on the same token, there's people that live right over here, which we're doing roundabouts, we'll talk about that
Oh, boy.
hate schools and hate invading their privacy.
Oh, yes.
And I hear from
I
them.
think that'll work in Boise
Right.
legislature too.
You know, and so you're not gonna please them all.
Yeah, that's right.
Any other questions for these? All right, let's take a 5-minute break. The women's restrooms.
Be a principal, and I interviewed for the experience, and they gave it to me. Like, they were dumb enough to give it to me because I was a high school teacher and now I'm in an elementary school. So I don't honestly know. You know, I keep my options open, but right now I'm real happy to be where I am. So I don't have any aspirations past that at the moment.
Okay, good. Okay, now we're gonna shift gears a little bit, and we're gonna go through and examine some of the stuff you have. This is your handout that I thought would be helpful for you. This was the actual document that I prepared for Ann Fox way back when, that she wanted everything from how to organize schools, facilities, and so you can look at this, use this kind of behind the scenes. It talks a little bit about surveys, gives you some ideas in it. It talks about the how you start a program. My 10-step bond passage is in here, and then there's some ideas about color coding buildings, how long it takes for planning. You'd be amazed. So this is a pretty good second workbook for you that you use in your leisure at that time. The schedule that we have in front of you, this one, Taylor, I told the rest of them before you got here that the due dates are not in concrete. I did that to pace you guys more than anything else. So when I'm said and done and grade your final exam, I will have expectations that everything is in then. The chapters, if you're a little late, you're gonna, you know, cost the discussion people from the rest of them a little bit of problem, but your reviews of their chapters, you do it proportionally. As I said, I want you to, and you're doing this well, to do the same thing you did with chapters 1 and 2 when you get a chance, that you did with my chapters with the others, because then you give a chance to get feedback there. The BCEFs are the next one down there. What that is that stands for Building Condition Evaluation Forms, and that's the long document that I printed off for you. Those documents that you have, Tyson has there, the long document isn't anything you turn back to me at all. The only thing you're gonna turn back to me is 2 things, is this sheet here, which is on your start of that, or there's a separate one as well that you can find. And then the second one is the cost one that is also a separate one that's on the Angel. Those are the 2 that you give me. The rest of that is your crib sheet to be able to do that. So when you go in there and do the thing, you take your long sheet, and I'd mark it in pencil, and circle them as you go along. That came about through the state of Idaho in 1984 commissioned a study that was done of all schools in the state.